Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go. I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hey everyone, my name is Sarah McCarthy and I am so excited that you are joining me as we break down the following standard. Today's standard is MA.5.GR.3.3 and the standard says to solve real-world problems involving volume of right rectangular prisms, including problems with an unknown edge length, with whole number edge lengths, using a visual model or a formula. So basically solving problems that require us to find the edge length and write an equation. That means we need to use an equal sign with a variable, that's a letter, for the unknown to represent the problem. Now notice that the standard, if we just read the standard, it doesn't even say anything about composite figures or combined rectangular prisms. However, this is indeed a component of this standard. It's not until you break it down that you notice it, which, by the way, this document that I'm marking up all over is not something that I have created. This is something that the Florida Department of Education, thankfully, releases to the public, and in these Breaking Down the B.E.S.T episodes, I'm walking you through my process for breaking down the standard, and then we'll spend the second half of this video exploring the website for this standard so you can see all the resources that you have access to with your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership. So this is an example right here. This is a hydroponic box. I'm not even sure what that is a rectangular prism. I know what that is. Is used to grow a garden in wastewater rather than soil. That's pretty cool. It has a base of 2 feet by 3 feet, so that's our length and our width. If the volume of the box is 12 cubic feet, what would the depth of the box be, or the height of the box? So you can see with this problem, we have a missing edge length, and really with the standard, we should create an equation using a variable, maybe D for depth. So yeah, that's kind of a basic example of what this standard is, what's expected of the standard. Okay, so here in the clarifications it says, instruction progresses from right rectangular prisms to composite figures composed of right rectangular prisms. That's when we're putting two together. You'll see what I mean in a second. When finding the volume of composite figures, we recognize that the volume is additive by adding the volume of the two non-overlapping parts, or more if it's more than one rectangular prism. So let's see, what related benchmarks do we have? In 5th grade, we have 5.NSO.2.1 and 2.2. These are our multiplication and division standards in 5th grade. We also have 5.FR.1.1, division as fractions. And I'm not quite sure why that one is an example here, because we're using whole number lengths. So I'm not sure. For 5.AR.1.1, we have multi-step real-world problems, and also 5.M.1.1, measurement conversions. I'm not sure why these two were not included, but we can write them down. MA.5.GR.3.1 and 3.2. These are the previous volume standards that definitely help lead into the standard nicely. Okay, for this one, we need to know what a composite figure is and a rectangular prism. A rectangular prism is that box-like figure, and a composite figure is there an example of one? No. Where we can almost split apart the figure to create more than one rectangular prism and find the volume of that. So you'll see, if you're not sure what I mean, I'll show you in a second when we get to the resources what that looks like. Where are they coming from? In 4th grade, we had 4.GR.2.1. This was our real world area and perimeter, and now we're kind of creating that real world volume. And in 6th grade, students will be expected to find the volume with fractional or decimal side lengths. Now for the purpose and instructional strategies section, let's see what jumped out at me. It says, the purpose of this benchmark is to solve real-world problems involving right rectangular prisms, or boxes, using a visual model or a formula. We will be finding the unknown side length or finding the volume of a composite figure. See, when the standard is broken down like this and we're given more information, that composite figure keeps showing up, but I'm not sure why it doesn't show up in the standard itself. We'll find the volume of composite figures by decomposing them into smaller right rectangular prisms. Students will be expected to write equations, which we'll do in the videos. Notice that right here for 120 equals 30 times the height. That would be the base times the height. And that in between 30 and h, really, because those are pushed together like that, multiplication is involved. And because we'll need to flexibly use multiplication and division because they are inverse operations. Some common misconceptions or errors that students might make is seeing the difference between B and the area formula. A equals B times height. The base times the height, really that base is our L, our length times width. But base, capital B, stands for the length times the width together. So when we have this formula, volume equals base times height, that really means the length times the width, then times the height. And because of the associative property of multiplication, we can do that and still arrive at the same answer as if we were to just multiply length times width times height. The most common errors that I see are just computational errors, and also with composite figures, that students, when you are finding the volume of composite figures, sometimes you need to adjust the side lengths when decomposing them into multiple rectangular prisms. I'll try to showcase more when we get to the video lessons that involve that, okay? For this one, I said wowzers, because this was a very challenging problem. I do suggest you taking a look at it, but I think that this would be taking it way up, way to like the fullest extent of the standard, probably even a little bit above the reach there. But you can see here, what my understanding was that because they have graham crackers that are 18 cubic inches, that's our volume, which ends up being a length of 2, a width of 3, and a height of 3. And then we're putting them into the boxes, and the box is a 30 by 30 by 30 cube box. And I got an answer of 1,500 packages there. So that's a very challenging question. I even struggled with it too, but that's where I think this problem is going. Where I think right here, this instructional item is much more reasonable for the types of questions that you can expect with the standard. It says select all of the following that could be dimensions of the base of a rectangular box with a height of 16 and a volume of 128 cubic inches. So if we plug that in, that would be 128 equals the base, our unknown variable, times 16, which is the height. And we'll use division, 128 divided by 16, to figure out what the base is, which is 8. So any of these right here would be factors of 8 and would give you the length and the width, which would be the base of that. Okay? So I think that is it for going over the standard like this. Let's go ahead and see what you have access to with your Taking on the B.E.S.T membership. Here we are at the website, mccarthymathacademy.com. We're going to click right here at Members, enter here. And we've got Taking on the B.E.S.T. Which grade? 5th grade. We want the GR, Geometric Reasoning strand. And right here, MA.5.GR.3.3 is volume in the real world. The first page to pop up includes your bronze level of resources. These are the video lessons and the printable student guides, so students can watch the videos and take notes. Let's see what the topics are. We've got real-world volume problems with an unknown edge length. Some more real-world problems with an unknown edge length, but here you can see we have visuals in the first one, and we do not have visuals in the second one. And then we've got 2 videos for finding the volume of composite figures, a more basic version, and then taking it up a little bit with a challenge. And I'll show you a closer look at these examples in just a second. But I do want to point out that the video lessons, the whole purpose of them is to make math fun and to make it click for your students. I would not expect that after watching one video lesson that you can expect your students to master the skill, because they need to practice. And that is why we have the silver plan. Okay, the silver plan right here, you can click here for your printables. The first video lesson gives us the volume and 2 edge lengths, and we need to find the volume of the missing edge length, the unknown length, and write an equation using a variable to solve it. So we'll do that in the videos. And then there's extra practice right here that goes along with what we just did in the videos, so students can practice on their own. The next one, you can see that we have, again, a missing edge length. What is the length? Number 2 says, what is the width? Number 3 is find the height. So we're given the volume and 2 of the edge lengths, or the base maybe. Like in number 3, we have an area of 64 square feet, so that would be the base. We know the base, we know the volume, we need to find the height. Okay, and then there's extra practice here. The third video lesson has our composite figures. So this is where we need to break down our figures into 2 different rectangular prisms, or more depending on the task. For these, would be breaking it down into 2. These are a little more basic because all of the edge lengths have been provided, and you don't really have to do a lot of manipulation. Whereas in the next one, this is the extra practice for that video, but in the next one, if we were to break it apart right here, we would know that the length was 7, the width was 5, but the height would not be 11 feet because 11 is being considered for the entire thing, where if we're breaking it apart right here, we're only considering this little piece right here. Okay, so if you're still like, wait, what is she talking about with this, with it being more challenging, I do suggest that you watch the video lesson then so you can see what I'm talking about, where you have to maybe figure out what a length is using all the clues that you have around you. Okay, then extra practice for that one. Here is a math mission. This says Alex's bedroom has an area, length times a width, or the base of 90 square feet. If the volume of his room is 720 cubic feet, what is the height of his room? Label the dimensions of his room on the figure below. Include an equation to determine the height h of his room, then solve. So you can see here, we just like the standard was saying, we have to write equations to figure out the volume, to figure out the missing edge length. Part 2, we're adding in a composite figure feature naturally in a real world setting to figure out that one. Okay, and then this right here is a math misconception mystery episode. You can find that right here. You just click play and I will guide your students through the entire process. First, instructing them to solve this problem, which says the volume of a large packing box is 120 cubic feet. If the length is 6 feet and the width is 4 feet, what is the depth of the box? So students will solve this on their own or with a small group, and then they will click play as 4 other characters also solve this problem. 3 of these characters are going to make a mistake that students commonly make, and only one of them will have the correct answer. These characters are just me dressed up in silly costumes with silly accents having fun. And after the students watch the video lesson, they can fill out their detective report right here, which you can find the answer to in your answer keys if you need some help guiding your students. Then we have the goal plan. If you scroll down, you can enter into the goal plan if you have that as part of your membership. You have a mini assessment, which has a variety of question types. You can see here, usually about 4 to 5 questions for this one. All right, the answer key for that is right here. You also have these breaking down the best videos right here, easy for you to quickly look at what you have access to. These are ad-free as a perk for being a gold member. They are also available on YouTube. They just have ads. But really the main highlight of getting that gold plan is because you wanted access to McCarthy Math 155, which is a daily math intervention that's aligned to the Common Core standards. Now, we all know that we have implemented the best standards in Florida. Common Core is what we used to have. However, if you've had some time with both sets of standards, you know that there are a lot of similarities that do trickle over. So if you have students who are struggling to find volume, this is a great place to go to get some extra practice in. You click right here at 5th grade. By the way, that 155 stands for 155 video lessons for each grade. We're going to scroll down to the volume unit, unit 10. There are 10 additional units, including finding the missing side length and finding the volume of combined rectangular prisms, also known as composite figures. So there's even more here. I'll just scroll so you can see. There's a lot here. Okay. All right, I think that is it. Really, anything inside of this volume unit is up for grabs because it does go along with the standard. It might not hit it perfectly as far as the equations and having a variable and all of that, but they are great practice to support the standard that you have. Okay? I think that is it for going over this standard today. I hope that you found this video to be helpful in breaking it down and showcasing what you have access to that's strategically aligned to the standard that we went over today. Before we go, let me remind you that what you wake up and you choose to do with your life every single day, it really does matter. Thank you so much for stepping into the best version of yourself to inspire your students to do the same. And of course, thank you so much for inviting me into your educational space. I love being able to support you and support your students and hopefully put some time back into your pocket. Speaking of time, I know that you have a lot to do, so I will let you get back to it and I will see you in another episode really soon, okay? Bye! Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now. Bye!